Okay, here we go. We are starting with day 4. We'll start with some basics of function and try to understand what is the difference between function and a method. Then we'll go to object oriented programming and we'll start with classes and objects and try to introduce some of the concepts related to classes and objects. Before starting, the prerequisite is, as we did on day 3, we need to have an IntelliJ installed. We need to have a Scala build tool, we need to have Scala, and IntelliJ should have two plugins, that is Scala and SBT. So this is a prerequisite. Close this. Let me do file, new project. I did not specify the file path, the source code path. Okay, so let me go over here. Let me go over here and let me go into the source code. Okay, this was created by mistake. I don't need this. And I want a new directory, new folder, learning Scala A. So I need to go into learning Scala A and I want it to be created inside learning Scala A. So it should be source code learning Scala A. Finish. New window. Yeah, so it is created it properly this time. Yeah. So last time A is the project that we are creating. So we have created this learning Scala A. It has downloaded SBT very fast. Okay. So we are trying to understand what is the project structure. So what is the name of the project? Anyone, what is the name of the
Scala
project?
A,
Learning Scala A.
yeah.
What is the path over here?
C user beneath.
Yeah, what does it specify? It is a path where the source code is present. What is this .idea file for? What is this .idea file for? What is this file for? We just said, right?
Internal IntelliJ file, I guess.
Yeah, okay. This internal IntelliJ file. Then what is this source file for? All the source code will lie over here. What is this main file? Will have the all the source code related to our program, and this test directory will have all the testing script. So let's say I am writing a function to add two numbers. There will be a test script that calls that function to add two numbers and checks whether it is returning the correct value or not. So source will have two things. One will be the main wherein the actual source code lies, and there will be another one that is a test wherein it has the testing script that calls each and every function over here to just check whether it is working fine or not. Then whenever you compile a project or whenever you compile these codes, the jar file that will be created out of it will be over here. So the jar file will be over here. Build.sbt specifies the dependencies that you want to use. So let's say you want to use, if you want to use some dependencies related to, let's say, reading a Excel, you need Apache Poi, or if you need some dependencies for reading a file from Hive, or you need to read from HBase or any of the database, or you want to do some JSON operations. So for that you need to import something. So basically build.sbt will have all the dependencies. It will have all dependencies. So all dependencies that you want to download from internet, that is already available on internet. So let's say you want to work on Excel, you will use the dependency Apache Poi. Similarly, if you want to use any other functionality, let's say you want to you want to read from any other database, let's say Vertica. So for Vertica, you will have to use in this one. You have to go into Vertica. Vertica is a database, and you have to copy this particular line into build.sbt. So you have to copy this particular line in build.sbt if you want to uh, connect Vertica. Okay. There is a use of build.sbt, and what you need to use, you can find it over here in the Maven repository. Similarly, if you want to work on Excel, you need to go inside this. You can use any of those. Then you select the version you want to use. Then you have to go into SBT and copy this. Okay. So there is a use of each and everything we discuss. So let's get started, and let's start with writing a hello world program. So just right click over here, click on new, click on new Scala class object, and select a object. And let's say I give the name of that object as hello world, and click OK. Now once I make the object as hello world, I want to write a hello world program, a program that uh, displays hello world on the screen. So that is the first program that we always write. Okay, so hello world is the first program we always write. So whatever we want to write, we created an object by name hello world, and we are defining the arguments. So def means it is a function. Main is the name of the function. This is the arguments or the parameters that this function takes, and unit means it is returning nothing. So let's say I want to print something. So if I want to print anything, I will just write a println function, and I will say hello world. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm writing a program that displays hello world. Spelling mistake, print hello world. Okay. So I'm done. To save the program, use Control S, and to run the program, there are multiple ways to run the program basically. Either click over here, right click over here, and say that run hello world. So it is executing. So it has printed hello world. So what it does is it goes and starts with the main function. First line is print statement that prints hello world over here. Let's say if I want to print hello world again, I will say hello world 1. And if I want to execute, I can just right click over here, and I can click on run to execute it. I can also execute it from here by clicking this play button. So it is building first. So it is printing hello world and hello world. Okay. You can also execute this thing by clicking over here and saying run hello world. Okay, it does it again. You can also do it from a command line by saying that I want to compile first Scala C. So for compiling a Scala program, it's Scala C, similar to Java C in Java. And I say I want to compile hello world. Okay, says it is not found. Let us, it's saying that it's inside learning Scala. I need to go inside source main Scala. So I'm inside source main Scala. Then I can do Scala C hello world. Okay, so Scala C hello world dot Scala, it will compile it. And if I want to execute it, I will say Scala followed by hello world. So it has executed it. So there are multiple ways of executing the same program. Either you can right click over here and run that thing using this one, or else you can also do it by this play button, or else you can also do it by going into run and doing this, or else you can also do it by go to that path where you are, click on the terminal, go to the path you are, and just write hello world dot scala and just write scala dot hello world. So Scala C is for compiling and Scala is for running that thing. Okay. So any doubts so far? Any queries so far? Is it clear?
Yes,
Why you are
Adarsh.
able to see two objects there in the source part?
Mhm. Okay.
Two hello world.
Okay. So let's see this, why we see two hello world. So basically whenever you compile, that's a good question again. Let me open and show you. So this was the object that we had created, and whenever you compiled, it created another class. Let's try to open this and see. Okay, so this is how it created another .scala file with the class. It is not readable because it has converted into its own language. But whenever you just compile it, it creates an class out of it because it does some back compiling, and to make it compatible uh, with the Java program, right? Because it is, at the end of day, it is a Java, right? So whenever you compile it, what the compiler of Scala does is it converts the things back into Java. So in Java, how do you define the things? You define it as a, if you work on Java, then you define the things like, you define a class, or like we define over here object as hello world, right? But in Java, we define a class as hello world. Then we say that public static void main, right? So
But
using,
are those two created only when we compile through the terminal, or even if we compile through that normal file get two? Because
uh,
yesterday I don't remember I see
okay,
two.
okay. Yesterday we did not get because we did not compile it with the command, because it was never compiled. We were just executing it, so you won't get it. But if you compile it, then only you will get it.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So basically, this is how you write the Hello World program. Okay. Then second thing, let's see why, like you asked the question yesterday, how can we also define class over here instead of defining object? So like we do in Java, we don't define an object, we define a class and we write public static void main. But in Scala, we always create an object. So whenever we do over here and we do new and we do Scala class, in Java, we select the class. But in Scala, we select the object. So let's try to do by defining it as a class and see what happens. Okay. It says that it already exists because it auto created. Let's try to delete these two things because it auto created, right? Because I just now compile it, so it created a class file just like to be compatible with the Java. Let's say I don't need it because I want to demonstrate something else, so I just delete it from here. Okay, and I okay. Let's try to do a Scala class hello world. Let's try to do hello world A. It's not even allowing because there is an object. So let's do a hello world A, and now we have defined a class, and let's copy the same code over here. Okay, and let's try to execute. So to execute, we click on right, or we clicked on object instead. Let's try to execute this one. So to execute, we right click over here, and we can see that there is no option basically to execute this code. Okay, so there is basically no option to execute this code also. But even if we try to do it by, let's say, by Scala command, it will give you an error. So let's say I do Scala C hello world dot Scala. So even if I am, it was a hello world a dot Scala. So let's see what it gives. Okay, it was able to compile successfully because there is no syntax error, and the compiler only checks whether there is a syntax error or not. It doesn't checks the execution error. So it was still able to compile it, and let's try to execute it by writing Scala. Then we write hello world A. So it gives us error, and let's try to see what it says. Okay, so it says that hello world A dot main is not a static. Okay, so when we define it as a class and when we try to execute it, right, when we try to execute it, when I compile it, it was still able to compile it successfully. When I did the compilation, it was still able to do the compilation successfully because there was no syntax issue. If had been there syntax issue, it would have failed in compilation. But since there was no syntax issue or anything, it was successfully compiled. But when I run this code, it says that hello world a dot main is not a static. So if you remember when you were doing a programming in Java, or if you have done any programming in Java, you define the function as public static void main, right? So that's why it doesn't give an error in Java. But in Scala, it is giving me an error that it is not static because it is not defined as a static. Now the second thing is, can I define it as a static? So the answer to it is no. The answer to it is no. In Scala, we do not have a static keyword. So I don't have any static keyword. So I cannot define a main function with static. So this is a deadlock, right? If I create a class and when I try to execute it, what does a Java says? Java is giving an exception that the main method is not static, because you know that Java always accepts something like this, public static void main. So Java wants the main method to always be a static. But the problem over here is we do not have any static keyword over here. So since we do not have any static keyword over here, what we can do is instead of creating a class, we won't create a class. We will instead create a object. So instead of creating a class, we will create a object. And what is the advantage of having object over here is in object, all the methods are by default static. So whenever you create an object, you don't have to specify a static. Everything is static, right? So there is some basically trying to answer the question that was asked yesterday. Like when we do in Java, we used to define as a class, but when we are doing in a Java in Scala, we have to define it as a object. So reason for doing that is if we don't define as an object and we define as a class and try to execute it, first of all, it won't give me any option over here to run, right? But if I still want to compile it by a Scala C command and I want to run it using a Scala command, it will give me an error that main method is not a static. And it is giving me an error that main method is not a static. So since the main method is not a static and there is no way to define a static in Scala, what we do is we use a object, and in object everything is basically a static thing, right? Is it clear why we not use a class and why we use a object while defining the main function?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so I don't need this also. Let me delete this also. I don't need this. It's only for practice, only for understanding. Let me delete. I don't need. Okay, so we have written a program to write a hello world, and when we run it, it is also running it fine. So when I run a hello world program in Scala, it is running fine. Okay, so it is printing hello world. So let's get started and let's start again with function. Let's start with function. So what is the definition of function? Let it be two-way communication so that you guys speak more than me. What is a function? What is the definition of function? Why we make a function?
Reusability.
Reusability. Yeah.
Reusability. So it is a reusable piece of code. It is a reusable piece of code. So for example, I want to define a function. I define a function for age calculation that accepts uh, today's date. Maybe I take it in whatever format I take as a date, and I take a DOB, date of birth. Again, I take it as a date, and I try to return something as an integer. And basically, what I do is I take the difference between DOB and date. So date minus DOB gives me a age, right? And I just return the age, something like this, right? So what is the definition of a function? Writing a reusable piece of code. So writing a reusable piece of code, what reusable piece of code we are writing? We are writing a reusable piece of code to calculate the age. So what is this age calculate function doing is it is taking the two input parameters. It is taking the date of birth and the today's date and basically getting the difference between these two date, and it is basically getting the age and returning it. To define a function, the keyword is def. So you always need to define a function by a keyword called as a def, followed by the function name. So what is this? This is a function name. This thing is sometimes called as a parameters, or it is sometimes also referred as arguments. For parameters and arguments, it is mandatory to specify data type. So whether it is a integer or it is a string or it is a float or it is a double or it is a date or whatever it is mandatory to specify the data type. So it is mandatory to specify the data type. So this is a data type you are specifying. You specify the data type followed by colon. This int is a return type. It is a return type. Int is a return type. It is not mandatory to specify the return type. It can automatically understand on basis of what you are returning. It can automatically also understand. So it is not mandatory for you to specify the return type. Okay. So let's just revise this and then we go to practical. So why do we write a function?
For reusability.
Reusability. Over here to define a function, what is a keyword to define a function?
Def.
Def. What is a function name?
Age cal.
Calc is the name of the function that we are making. What is this called?
Parameters.
Parameters are also referred as
Arguments.
argument. Is it mandatory to specify a data type?
No. Yes. In the arguments, yes, but in the return type, no.
Okay, in return type is not mandatory to specify, but in the arguments it is mandatory to specify the data type. Why is it mandatory to specify the data type? Because why is it mandatory to specify the data type? So every question should have a why. So why is it mandatory? So because when you define a function, okay, when you are defining a function, until the function is called, I don't know what is going to come, right? It instead of date, it can be just x, right? I don't know over here what the next person is going to pass me when I am invoked, right? And I need to know what is being passed so that I can understand what is the return type, what is being done over here. Is it a valid operation or not? I need to know, right? Because if I don't know what is coming, okay, had it be I know the value of it. If I know x is equal to 50, then I know it is an integer. But I don't know what is the value of it, right? I don't know what will be the contents of it. Since I do not know what will be the content of this parameter or argument, I need to know the return type. Okay. So because let's say because function does not know what will be passed to parameter. What will be passed to parameter. Someone can pass it 5, someone can pass it ABC, can someone can pass it 5.5. I don't know, right? If I just define over here, I don't know what someone will pass. If someone pass ABC, how can I do ABC minus XYZ? I cannot do ABC minus XYZ. Okay, so that's why I need to know what is a data type of a parameter or a argument. Is it clear why it is mandatory to specify?
Yes.
Okay. Return type, it is not mandatory to specify because you know that if there is a two input that is of integer, integer minus integer will be integer, so it can guess the return type automatically. So it is not mandatory, but it is always mandatory to specify what will be the data type of a parameter or argument. Is it clear? Any doubts so far?
No worries.
Okay, great. So let us start with writing the functions. Let us write the function to add two numbers. Def add, okay, let's say a or x as integer, then I say y as integer. So I say I want to add two numbers, I want to say these two are integer, and then where z is equal to x plus y, and I say return z. Okay, so basis of what we did the explanation, can you try to explain what is this doing? What is this def meaning?
Defining a function.
Defining a function. What is this add?
Add is the name of the function,
Okay,
and two
what is
parameters,
this?
that is x and y, with a data type int.
What is this?
Return data type.
Return data type. Okay, what is this doing?
Adding x and y.
What is the next line doing?
Returning value z
Okay,
variable.
okay, great. So let's say I do var result is equal to add 2 comma 5 and print. Okay, let's do print ln, it is better so that it goes in a new line, and do result. Okay, so to try to understand this code, what it is doing, var result is getting add, whatever add is returning 2 comma 5. So you are passing 2 and 5. 2 will go to x, y will go to 5, y will get 5, z is equal to 2 plus 5 7. It will return the 7 over here and result will get 7 and it should print 7. Okay, so I'll just write addition of 2 and 5 is, to concatenate two things, it's plus. So addition of 2 and 5 is 7. How do I run it?
Right click.
Right click and run. Right. There is a shortcut also, Control Shift F10. So if you right click over here, see Control Shift F10. So next time onwards, instead of doing, just try to remember Control Shift F10 and try to use that shortcut so that you get more versatile. Okay, so it says that hello world because it was printed over here. It went over here, 2 plus 5. It did 2 plus 5, 7, and it came. And it returned the result as 2 plus 5 is 7. Is it clear so far? Anyone, any doubts in this? Any doubts, Nishant or Satyendra?
No worries.
Okay, great. Then let's say we want to debug it. To debug, you first need to put a breakpoint from where you want to start debugging it. And you just right click over here and click on debug. You can also click on this debug over here, right? You can also right click and say I want to debug, or Control Shift F9. Oh, sorry, debug, not recompile. It's debug. So right click over there, or you can also do over here. Okay, so it came over here. For going to the next line, press F7. So it will print hello world. Then it came into add function. Since it add went had in was an add function, it is over here. So x is having the value as 2, y is having the value as 5. Press F7, z gets the value as 7. Now the z will return it. So it returned over here. So if you do F7, result also got 7. And if you do this, it is going to print addition of 2 and 5 is 7, right? So this is how you debug the things. And if you want to see the values, you can hover it. So one more time, let's do the debug. Let's say I don't want to start from here. I just want to start from here, right? So I just put a breakpoint over here by clicking over here, right click, and look for debug. So it will directly come and stop over here. So it says that x is 2, y is 5, F7. Go on pressing F7. Instead of pressing F7, you can also click over here. Go on clicking over here. So this is how the code is executed or debugged. Is it clear how to debug it? Any doubts in this?
No worries.
No. So in any programming language, you need to know, you should have two skills always, whatever you are doing programming. One is you should know how to debug the program. Second is you should know how to Google the things. So we'll see both the things as we go ahead. So first we have seen how to debug the things. So we have written this program, and is basically doing the addition of it. Second thing, while defining the function, okay, it is not mandatory to specify return keyword. It is not mandatory to specify the return keyword. Let us comment this piece of code, or I will just write one more piece of code. Add without, maybe I will say add a, and I will just call this as add a. Let's say I don't want to call the above one. I just comment this code. Comment this code is double slash. So you can use double slash to comment the code, or else if you want to comment the multiple line of code, select the multiple lines and press control plus slash. To uncomment, again control plus slash. So if you want to comment multiple lines of code, press control and slash, right? If you want to uncomment also, control slash. So to comment multiple lines of codes, select those lines using mouse and then press ctrl plus slash. Okay, so this is how you comment multiple lines of code. Okay, so it's add, and there is a add a. Okay, so now we are calling which function? Add a function. So what we are saying, that it is not mandatory to specify the return keyword. It is not mandatory to specify the return keyword. So what I'm writing the next thing, example add function, it was having the return type. Yes, return type was int, it was specified. So we did specify for add, we did specify the return type, and we did specify the return keyword. In add a function, we are still specifying the return type. Yes, we are not specifying the return keyword. So what we are saying, not mandatory to specify, not mandatory to specify return keyword. So what we are doing in this function add a, we are specifying the return type, but we are not specifying the return keyword. So we are specifying the return type. See, return type is specified. But over here, we are not specifying the return keyword, not mandatory to specify the return keyword. It will still work. So we are calling this add a function. We are not calling this add function as commented. This piece of line will not execute. We're just calling this add a function. Add a function is over here, and we are not specifying the return keyword. Let us try to run it. Right click and run. So it still works. So what we are saying, what we are concluding, it is not mandatory to specify the return keyword. Any doubts in this? Any doubts so far? Any doubts?
So can we use the keyword collect here or it won't accept?
Which keyword?
Collect.
Collect for what?
I mean, uh, like in place of return, can we use collect.z or something?
Collect is not a keyword. It can be, it's a different method that is available, but we don't have anything such as collect for. You're referring to which programming language for this keyword collect?
No, I was referring to the Spark thing. So I was like that
Okay, okay, okay.
whether
For
it relates or not.
okay, 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 okay. No, that is completely different. We are just learning Scala. So collect will come only when we do Spark. So when we and in Spark also, collect is like a function. It is a predefined function or a method. So when we do a collect, it is a function. It's not a keyword or something like that. It's a function
Okay,
defined.
all right.
Okay. So it is not mandatory to specify return keyword. Any other queries? Okay.
No worries.
So we'll go to the next one, int b, and we'll also remove the return type. We are removing the return type, and we say not mandatory to specify return type. It is auto interpreted. It is interpreted automatically. We don't have to specify the return type. Okay, leave it. So what we are doing is we are removing the return type over here int, but this int is showing automatically because it is coming automatically by the Scala plugin in the IntelliJ. So it is not mandatory to specify the return type as well. We have removed the return type. So let's call add. Let us comment this also, and let us instead call the add b function. So I've commented this add a and I am calling a add b. So what will this add b do? It will call this add b that doesn't have a return keyword and that doesn't have a return type. So let's execute it. So it still works, and what we are concluding now is it is not mandatory to specify the return type as well. We don't have to specify the return type. It will automatically understand what is a return type. Okay, let's go to the next thing. So what variants we studied just now? Add b. So did we specify the return type?
No,
No. Did we specify the return keyword? Did we
no,
specify the return keyword? Did we specify over here the return keyword?
no.
No, right?
We specified the return type X int and Y int.
So that's not a return type. That's a input parameter, data type.
Input parameters. Input
Yeah,
parameters.
this is the return type over here.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So we did not specify the return keyword also. We did not specify. And what we say, not mandatory to specify a return keyword and return data type, return type, return data type. So it is not mandatory. Let's write another thing with another variance. Function name I will make as add c, and let's copy this. Okay, so will it work? Okay, so what we are doing over here is we are calling add c function The function is add c. This is the input parameter, output parameter. Now I am specifying the return keyword. Now specifying the return keyword. Specifying the return keyword. Since I am specifying the return keyword over here, what happens over here is, can you see instead of showing int, it shows as nothing? If I try to execute this, it will give me an error, right? If I try to execute this, it will give me an error. We'll see why. So it is giving me an error. It is saying that method addC has a return statement needs a result type. So what it says that has a return statement, so it needs a result type. So basically what I am saying over here is, if you specify if you specify if you specify return keyword, you need to specify return type always. Okay, so just remember, always remember that if you are specifying the return keyword, always you need to specify the return type. You always need to specify the return type, else you will get this error. Else you will get the error as add method add c as a return type, but it also needs what, the result type. It also needs a result type. So there will be an error that will come if you specify the return but you don't specify the return type. So this is add c is a variance of add only. I am writing the same thing. If you specify the return keyword, it is mandatory. You need to specify the return type always. The return type is mandatory. Mandatory to specify return type. Is it clear? So whenever you specify a return keyword, always specify the return type. If you specify the return keyword, always specify the return type. Is it clear? Any doubts in this?
Yes, Harish. Clear.
Okay. Okay. Is the vice versa true? If I specify the return type, do I need to specify return keyword? You get my question? If you specify the return type, if you specify the return type, is it mandatory to specify the return keyword? Yes or no? Question. If you specify return type, is it mandatory to specify return keyword?
Harish, I think we can just write Z.
Okay. Right. So no, your answer is no, right?
Yes, my answer is no.
Okay. So no, which is a correct answer. Refer to function add. Okay. So if you refer to a function add on line 25, that line will go on changing. So let's not write a line number. But for now it's on line 25. See. Over here, you did specify the return type. You specified the return type. Can you see you had specified the return type? But did you write a return keyword? No. So if you specify a return type, it is not mandatory to specify the return keyword. But if you specify the return keyword, it is mandatory to specify the return type. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Then sometimes simple functions can also be written in this way. Define add d is equal to x integer y integer is equal to x plus y. Okay. So can you see this function add d? Can you see this function add d? And can you try to answer to my questions? Did I specify the return type over here? Did I specify the return type over here?
No.
No. Did I specify the return keyword over here?
No.
Because both of these things are optional, right? It's okay to specify. You can don't want to specify. It is optional. So you did not specify the return type. You did not specify the return keyword. It is optional. Both the things are optional. Third thing, you did not even give the bracket. Do you notice that you did not even give the bracket? You can write the bracket, no issues. You want to write the bracket, you can write. It is also okay. But did I write the bracket?
No.
No. Even if you write, no problem. You can still write. But if you don't want to write, it is also okay. You don't write it. If it is a single function, if it is a function in a single line, if the function is of single line, if the function is of single line, if the function is of what?
Single line.
Single line, then no need to specify the brackets. Then no need to specify the brackets. If it is a multiple line, if it is a multiple line, you need to specify the bracket, right? But if it is a single line, no need to specify the bracket. So let's try to call this add d function. So add c was called. Instead of add c, what I will do is I will just comment this add c, and I will call this add d function, the one that we just defined. Okay, and it still works. So is it mandatory to specify? So let's try to conclude things. Let's try to conclude things. Let me ask the question, you give me the answer. Is it mandatory to specify keyword, specify return keyword?
No.
Okay. So it is not mandatory to specify a return keyword. That's correct. Okay. Second question. Mandatory to specify return type?
No, not mandatory.
Okay, you're saying no, not mandatory. But in what case it becomes mandatory?
When we want to mention keyword written.
Okay. When you mention a return keyword. Okay. Then let's go to the third question. Is it mandatory to give brackets?
If it is more than one line, then we need to give bracket. Else it is not
Okay.
mandatory.
Then the answer is single line example add d function, not mandatory, and multiple lines mandatory. Example add a, add b, it is mandatory. Okay, is it clear? Any doubts in
Yes.
this? Okay,
No.
great. So there's some basics of functions, how you define function. There are this little variations that come in Scala as compared to other programming language, especially from Java, wherein you only have a single way of defining and it is very easy to read the function. But in Scala, there are different ways. It simplifies your life because you have to write some less code, but it makes a life of a person who is new to Scala a bit difficult. So if it is clear, then it's good. Okay. Any doubts so far?
So Harish, in Scala also overloading concepts work, right?
Right. You have overloading concepts. Yes.
So it is like similar to the constructor in Java, or it has some different features also.
It is similar to Java only. Yes. Function overloading is similar to Java only. What we do in Java. Okay. Any other questions?
No Harish.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let's take it to the next level of programming. So what I will do is this was the program to demonstrate functions. Okay, so let's close this one because it will go become more untidy. Let's make a new code and let's make it for demonstrating classes and objects. So how do I write a new code? How do I make it? First I do what shall I do? I should do a right click. Then what? Where should I go?
New
New. Then what? Where should I go?
Scala class
Sara class. Okay. Then I should select a
object
object
object.
and what shall I write over here? Any name, right? So
Yes.
demo class object something. I just give this as a demo class object. Okay. So it should start from where? What is the main? What is the class that it starts executing?
Main.
Main, right? So you have to write main class. Okay. So it gives the suggestion basically. The suggestion comes, so just click over there so that you don't have to write everything. Okay. So you are writing a main class. Just to make sure that the code is okay, I just write a code print statement. Hello, ABC and demo class object. Right click and run demo class object. So it is printing hello ABC. That means it is fine, and the exit code is zero means it ended successfully. Okay. So let us start with let's go into object oriented programming a bit and let us start with what is class and what is object. Class and object. So the basic definition of class is it is collection of variables and methods. It is a collection of variables and methods. And the definition of object is it is a instance of a class. You create an instance of a class. So this is basically a textbook definition. What is the definition of class? It is a collection of variable and method, and object is nothing but instance of a class. So what do I mean by this? Let's try to do practical so that you understand. For now, you just remember that it is a collection of variables and methods, and for object, you just remember that it is something called as an instance of class. What it means we see when we do a practical. So let us start with the practical over here. So what we do over here is let us start writing the program, and what that program does is it defines some class. Okay, so let me define a class. To define a class, the keyword is class. To define a class, the keyword is class. Let us define the class by the name car. I'm defining a class by the name car. So car is the name of a class. Okay. So what is the name of a class? The name of the class is car. As we say before, the class is collection of variables and function. So class is a collection of variables and function. So let's define some variable. So top class extra cost. Let's say there is a top class car and there is some extra cost that is required. So basically it is a variable. It is just a variable and we are specific giving it as a 0. Then let's say uh, the top class extra core cost or maybe is 0. Then I define another variable and I say that road tax is equal to 100. So I say that there is a road tax that is applicable and you have to pay like $100 something. So I'm saying that where a road tax is equal to 100 and I define a function. To define a function, it is def, and let's say the defined function name is cost. So what it does is it calculates the cost and it takes the parameter as the basic cost. Let's define its type as integer. Let's say that the cost is integer. There is no decimal point for now to keep it simple. And basically no need to specify also. Let's write a simple function. Int is equal to basic cost plus top class extra cost plus road tax. Okay. So just try to explain me what we are doing over here. What is the definition of what is the definition of class? What is the definition of the class with what we said? What is the definition of a class?
Collection of methods.
Collection of variables and methods. Okay. Now if you see over here, it's a variable. What is the name of this variable? Top class
Top class.
extra cost is
Extra
0.
cost.
Okay. What is the name of this variable?
Road tax.
Road tax. Both are having a numeric data, meaning both have to taken a data type as integer by default because I have given the integer to it. And it is also having one method, right? Or a function, right? Define cost, basic cost int. So it is an input parameter. What is this? Input
Input
parameter, right?
parameter.
Did I specify the return type?
No.
No, but it automatically interpreted the return type as integer because you're adding all the integer. So return type will be integer. So what is this function doing? This is adding this basic cost, but what it got is top class extra cost and road tax, right? So class is nothing but collection of variables and functions or methods. Then there is a very small difference between method and function. Though when you do a programming, anyone says it function method, it doesn't matter. No one cares that much about it. But there is a small difference, very small difference between a method and a function. Method is defined inside a class. Method is defined inside a
Class.
in a class. So if there is a function that is defined inside a class, it will be called as a
Method.
method. If I define the same function over here, if I define a function, okay, define print hello function over here and uh, equal to and let's say it does print ln and say it does hello. So is it defined inside a class?
No, it is
No,
outside.
it's outside, right? So this is called as a function. What is this called as a
Method.
method? Okay, this is called as a
Function.
function. So if the function is defined in a class, it is called as a method, but just forget it, no one knows it.
But
So
Harish, so the scope of the method remains inside the class, right?
Yes, it remains inside the class, or it can also be used with the object. We'll see now. Answer is yes, it remains inside the class, and it can be also used outside the class when you create a object of it. We'll see how. We'll be seeing now. Okay. So we just created this class, and basically it is not being called anywhere. And if I still try to run it, it should still work fine with printing the hello message. So let's try to run it. Okay, so it still works fine because I have defined a class that is doing nothing. I've just defined a group of variables and some methods. Method is nothing but a function. So we have defined a cost method or a function inside there. So class is a collection of variable or method. Now to use it, I need to create a object of it. To use it, what I need to do? I need to create a object of it. So to create an object of it, I need to do some code, right? I need to create an object of it. To create an object, let's see how to create an object. Now I will say where. Now I will say some car name BMW, where BMW is a new car. Okay. So what I have done is where BMW is a new car. So now when I am saying a new car, this car is over here and BMW is an object. So what is an object? Object is an instance of a class. Using an object, I can access all these methods and a variable of this class, right? So let's say I say where BMW is new car, and let's say I want to see print BMW dot road tax. Okay. So what I'm doing, I created an instance of class where BMW is new car, and I am trying to use this method or this variable. For now I'm just using this variable of this class. So I'm just saying that print me that variable, print BMW dot road tax. Let us try to run it. So can you see this 100? So what is this BMW? BMW is an object. What is an object? Object is an instance of a class. Which class? Car. So using the object, I can access all the variables and methods that are defined in a class. Is it clear?
Harish, so BMW can be said as the reference variable.
Yes, you can say it as a reference. Yes.
So we can write anything, right? Like where A equals new car and then A dot road
Yes.
tax.
Right. So you're creating an object with A. Yes. So you can also, as you said, you can also write where A is equal to new car, and let's say I say print. Instead of print, let's use println. New line is better. Println, and I say A dot road tax. So it will also print for A. Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now let us change BMW dot road tax to 200 and print ln BMW dot road tax. So what I am doing over here, what I am doing, I am printing what is the road tax. What was the road tax before? 100. Then what I am doing in the next line?
Print 200.
I am changing it to 200, right? For BMW, I'm changing only for BMW. What I'm changing? I'm changing the road tax to 200.
200.
Then I just print and let's try to execute. So is it clear? So I change it to 200. I am printing for this. But did it change for the other cars?
No.
No, right? It did not change for other cars because it is a separate object. It is a separate instance. If I am changing anything for this, it won't change for others. It will only change for that particular object or what that particular instance of the class. So is the basic definition clear to you? If the basics are clear, then you can play as much as you want. So what is the basic definition of a class?
Class is a collection of variable and methods.
Methods. Okay. What is the difference between method and a function?
Method is written inside the class, and function is written outside the
Okay.
class.
So yeah. So method is basically a function which is written inside a class. But no one bothers it. Okay. What is the object? What is the object?
Instance of class.
Instance of class, right? So we just use BMW road tax and we change the BMW road tax. But a road tax is something that will be common for any car. So there are basically three access levels in Scala. One is public. Okay, let's go to bit of access levels. Access level in Scala. One is public, can access anywhere. One is private, can access only in the class it is defined. And one is protected, can access in class it is defined as well as in subclass extending the given class using inheritance. Discuss in detail when we study inheritance. So sometime when we are studying programming language, it is no single way to study it because the things go back and forward. Some explanation we need now is dependent on future concept and we cannot take it in future because that is again dependent on the previous concept and so on. So but we still try to understand uh, except for the protected in detail because protected try to understand when we learn about inheritance. Okay. So I've written some comments over here. Access level in Scala. So by default, whenever you define a variable or a method in a class, by default, the access level is public. So this is by default. So if I don't say anything, it means it is a public. If I don't say anything, that means it is a public. If I do not specify anything, that means it is a public. If I want to specify anything, I can specify it as a private or I can also specify it as a protected. I can specify it as a private or I can specify as a protected. No need to specify public. You cannot specify public because by default it is public. So since I did not specify anything in the road tags, it was by default what access method? If I don't specify anything for this, what is the
Public.
default access method?
Public.
Public. Since it was a public access method, I could overwrite its value over here. I could
Overwrite the
overwrite the
value.
value over here. I could access the value over here, right? Why? Because it was public. Public says that you can access it anywhere. Since I have an object over here, I can access this road tax. But what happened? Someone by mistake changed its value to 200. So in such cases, I can either change it to private or protected. I can either change it to
Private or protected.
private or protected. There is a small difference between private and protected. If I define it as a private, okay, keep your attention full. If I define it as a private, I can only use this road tax over here in the same class. If I define it as a private, I can only use it in the same class. So what is a private? Can access only in the class it is defined. Can access only in the class it is defined. So this road tax was defined in this car class. So it can be only accessed in the same class. Is it clear? If I try to access outside, see the red line is coming. If I try to access outside, you can see the red line.
Yes, yes.
Okay, is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are defining anything as a private, you can only use inside that given class. If it is a private, you can only use inside that class only, nowhere else. You cannot use anywhere. Okay, you cannot use anywhere. You can see that red line is coming already. So red line also says a symbol road tax is inaccessible from this place. Alright. So I cannot use road tax anymore. So let me change it to, I cannot use road tax anymore. Let me change it to top class extra cost. I can still use this. Why I can use this? Why I
Because
can
it
use
is
this?
public.
Because it is public. Did I specify public over here?
No.
No. Okay. So is the difference between public and private clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what is the difference between public and private? Public means can access
Anywhere.
anywhere. And what is the default access type?
A default access type is public.
Okay. What do you mean by private?
Private can access in the class.
Okay. It can only extend in the, it can be only accessed in the class it is defined. Okay. There is one more type uh, that is called as a protected. We'll discuss on that later on in more detail. Let me just discuss in short only, where xyz equal to 10. Okay, so what I am use? Protected. Okay, so let's try to use this as over here xyz. So can I use it over here? Protected. What it says? I cannot use. xyz is inaccessible from the place. So what is the keyword we have used?
Protected.
Protected. So what does it say? Protected can access in the class it is defined. It can be accessed in the class it is defined. So if I write x plus xyz over here, yes, it will work. It can be accessed. What did I say? It can be accessed in the class it is defined. It can be accessed in the class it is defined, as well as the subclass in using inheritance, as well as in the subclass. So what do you mean by a subclass? So I can define another class, class small car, then I say extends car. Okay, so this is called as an inheritance. We'll not discuss much about it now, but we'll just try to cover something, this one xyz. Okay, so can you see this xyz can be accessed over here? It is protected,
Yes.
right? But if I say a road tax, so what
Hmm.
does a road tax say?
It is private, so it won't.
Okay, private means only over here. Private means only over here. In the class it is defined. What do you mean by protected?
Allows in the subclass.
Allows in a subclass. So whatever is extending allows in the subclass. Okay. And the public means
You can access throughout.
okay throughout. Okay. So this was something that I wanted to cover about the access levels. Okay. So I hope it is clear. Any doubts so far? Any doubts?
No, Harish.
Okay. So later on, when you when you're going to watch these videos later on, just practice all these things because you will forget it. Uh, uh, then let me remove this. No need. This was we are still not working on inheritance. We are just working on classes and object. Inheritance will come sometime later on. So I just explained about all these three access levels. Just take a note of it. That just practice it later on also. Okay. So let's go forward, and we had created a class. Okay. So BMW class was there, object was there. Let's say I do BMW dot top class extra cost is equal to I am adding $500 over here. This XYZ I removed it sometime back, so let me remove. Okay. So let's say I want to call this function. So what for this BMW, what is the top class extra cost? It was 0. We change it to what?
500.
500. What is the road tax?
100.
100. So I want to call this function. So I will say that, let's say, result is equal to the result is equal to I want to call BMW dot cost. Okay, I want to call BMW dot cost, and I pass the basic value as 1000 or maybe 10,000. So I'm passing the basic cost as 10,000. Okay. Am I doing something wrong? Why is it result in red? Oh, I forgot to specify where over here. Why is it this insert button pressed? Okay, where result. Okay. So what I am doing over here, I am saying that I want a result, and I am calling this method. What is the name of the method that I am calling?
Cost.
Cost. Okay. Calling for which object?
BMW.
BMW. What is the basic cost we are passing?
10,000.
10,000. So what will this do? 10,000 will go over here. 10,000 plus X top class extra cost. What was the top class extra cost? What is the top
500.
class extra cost? 500. 10,000 plus 500. What is the road tax?
100.
100. So 10,500, 100 is 10,600. So print ln total cost of car is result. Okay. Let's try to execute. You can also right click over here and run. Okay, so is it clear 10,600 how it came? Because we created a new car, BMW. We said that top class extra cost is 500, and we passed this one, whatever is 10,000, and it went 10,000 plus this, and so on. Make sure you debug it. If you don't debug, then uh, for learning, it's good to debug. Right click debug, or you can also click over here and debug, or you can also click on this bug, or you can also go on run and debug. Okay. The key is F7 or F8. If you want to jump through, just click on this. Just keep on clicking this. So you can basically understand how it works. So when it went into a new car, it went into the class, right? And it will basically making all the initialization, right? So a new car was created, right? So the object ID is this car at the rate 903. So whenever you create any object, there is a object ID that is created, that is unique, and to identify the object, that is for the internal purpose. Okay, so you can see that car at the rate 903 is the object ID. Then you went to the result, then it went to the function, then it came back. The result value is shown over here. You can also hover over here to get the value of result, and just click next, 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 and it will finish. So this is how you debug. So make sure you debug so that you understand few more things when you do it yourself. How is the flow going, and you're more comfortable in it. Any doubts so far?
No worries.
Okay. So this was a simple class and object demo. Then let's see something called as a method with side effect. Okay. So what is method with side effect is, can you see this road tax? It's 100, right? So let's say, what did I do to this road tax? What is the access type for this?
Private.
Private. Why did we do it as a private?
So it only stays in the class.
So it only stays in the class, and basically we are abstracting from the user so that basically he doesn't spoil it, right? So the tax is fixed, it's $100. It's not going to change, something like that. So, but there is something called as a method with a side effect. What happens sometime is, by mistake, I define a method, let's say uh, check tax. Okay, I define a method check tax, and that doesn't return anything basically, uh, or maybe it returns something. It's up to it. Um, let's say it returns road tags. Sometime you want to see the road tags, so you need to call this method. Okay, and what is this method doing? It is basically returning the road tags. And let's say I want to still want to see what is a road tax, then I can say over here that road tax road tax is road tax is I just called it this function check tax, bmw.checktax. Okay, so what is this function doing? Can you explain me what is this function doing? What is this line doing? Can you explain me? What is this line doing? Can you explain this line and this line? What is this function doing? What is this function doing? If you don't speak, then it won't be clear. If you speak, then it will be more clear to you.
Basically, it is trying to access the private member using its own member.
Yeah, right. So basically, there was some variable, as you said, road tax. You couldn't see that road tax, right? You couldn't see that road tax because it was a private, right? But what we did is, someone is saying, no, I want to see. I don't want to modify, but at least I want to see it, right? I want to see it. You can define it as a private and stop me from modifying. But why are you stopping me from seeing what is a tax value? I want to see the tax value. So you as a developer, what you do is, okay, since he want to only see, probably I make a function for him and let him call a check tax, and check tax is just returning the value of road tax, right? So this is a new function that just returns the value of road tax, and you're calling this function over here, road tax. So it just returns the value of road tax. So it says that road tax is 100. So if I try to execute this, it will execute me that road tax is 100. So can you see that road tax is 100? So someone can ask you this in an interview question also, that let us say that you define a variable as a private if you don't want it to be edited from outside, but is still you want to see the value of it outside, what you will do? So you can say that I will just make a function and expose its value outside. I will just pass the value of it outside. Is it clear? Is this clear what we have done and what can be the use case? Is it clear what is this?
Yes.
Okay, so we are just defining a function that just returns a road tax. But let's say some programmer by mistake change its value to 10. Some programmer by mistake changed its value to 10. So if I execute this, the value is changed to what? 10. Either he changed it before or maybe he changed it afterwards, wherever he changed. Okay, basically he also changed it to 10. It was unintentional. Okay, it was done only by mistake. But what happens since he changed it to 10? It was a private variable. It was supposed to be 100. We kept it private so that no one changes it outside. But it is still changed by some method inside. Though it is done by a mistake. It is unintentional. But is the value changed for it? Is the
No,
value changed?
only while checking it will show 10, otherwise it will remain 100.
No, it will still always be 10. Once it is changed, it will be always be 10. Because it is
Even if you
changed to
don't
10.
call the check tax function,
Sorry?
the check stack function the method that we called,
Mm-hmm.
only there we are updating the value to 10, right? But initially when the variable was declared,
Okay.
then it was 100. So every time we create an object of the class,
Mm-hmm.
by default the value of road tax will be 100 until unless, as per me, we call the function or method check tax.
Okay. Okay. First, try to understand in this way. Whenever you create an object, you created an object BMW. So there is only one variable BMW dot road tax. Okay. There is only one variable BMW dot road tax. If it is changed, it is changed forever. To demonstrate, let's demonstrate to confirm it. I demonstrate by making another function print x, and it does nothing but it also returns road tax. Okay, it also returns road tax, and let me call that again. Okay, print x. Okay, so as per you, what should be the value for print x?
Can you scroll a bit up now? And this is the function. This was a variable is declared after the function has been called. It should retain 100.
Okay, it should retain 100. Let's try to execute it. Okay, so it is 10. It doesn't retain 100. Reason being, BMW is a object. So as I said before, if you see a variable road tax, there is only one variable road tax. There is only one variable road tax. There is only one variable road tax. Okay, there is only one variable road tax. So if there is any change to road tax anywhere for a BMW, it will affect every places. Is it clear? So by what you are getting confused, I will come to that. I understood why you are telling that. I will come to that later on. But for now, just try to understand whenever you refer to a BMW road tax, there is only one variable. If it is changed, it is changed for all. Okay. So if the road tax is changed for 10, 10. Okay. So it is always 10. Then if you see over here, it is always 10. This thing, when you update, when a method updates the value unintentionally, it is called as a method with side effect. What is it called? Method with side effect. Okay. What was the function of this check tax? It was just to give return their road tax, right? But someone changed it over here, right? Maybe he did not change over here. Maybe he changed it over here later on. Oh, he later on cannot because he need to return it before only, or maybe he makes another variable where a road tax and he returns a. So in this case, it will still it will still give the same thing, right? First, it will give the road tax as correct value because let's execute and try to understand. Hello ABC. Then it came for check tax. What was the value of road tax first? Road tax was 100. 100 went into A. So A is 100. You change the road tax to 10, but you return A. So return 100. A is 100. Then over here road tax. Okay. Return road tax as 10. So but road tax is changed to 10. So whenever the road tax is changed, it is changed. Okay. So just try to understand this way. Just try to understand this way. Whenever you create an object, whenever you create an object, there is only one instance of all these variables. If you change it anywhere, it is changed wherever you are referring after that. There is no multiple instance of it. Is it clear? Any doubts in this?
Can we try to debug once once we create an object from that place? Step
Okay.
into.
Okay, let's debug it. Okay, let's debug it and let's try to cover what I was saying now. Debug. Okay. So let's try to discuss each and every line. Println hello world. What is this doing? It is printing hello world. Now it is creating, going to the next line. What is the next line? It is creating a new object. What is this car? What is this car?
Object.
Car is a class. BMW is the object, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is creating a new object. Okay. It will execute all this. It will get, see, BMW dot top class extra cost is equal to 0. BMW dot road tax is equal to 100. Then it came back. It did not go to the functions. It won't go to the functions until it is invoked. So whenever it created a object, it executed and made a variable. So you have a BMW dot top class extra cost and you have a BMW dot road tax. Okay. Now there is should be an object created as we go to the next line. So there is an object created. Then you change the extra cost to 500. You change the extra cost to 500. You can see that road tax is 100. When you go to the check tag, when you go to the check tax, road tax become 10 and it came back. So can you see over here? Once it came back, the BMW object road tax is what? 10. Can you see this 10? So
Yeah.
BMW dot road tax is changed to 10. It is changed forever. Now it goes to print tax. The road tax is 10. So if you hover over here, it's 10. So you can see BMW dot road tax is 10. Then it is just printing the tax, whatever we ask, then it calls the basic tax calculation and finally prints the result. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
Satyanan, any
one
doubts? Yeah.
one more thing. when did you call check tags function also in while using an object?
Yes, you can see check text bmw.check text.
So first we call check tags and next we then we call print tags, right? Can we comment this line?
Which one?
So check tags function,
Yeah, check
check tags, yeah, yeah.
check
Comment it
text.
out, yeah.
So it will
Now if
be
you yeah, if I now execute, will the value be 10 or will be 100?
it will be 100.
It will be 100, right?
You haven't changed it,
So
right? It was
yeah.
only because the check text was getting called. See, it is 100. It was only because the
So
check text was getting called and check text was changing it to a 10 by mistake because the programmer wrote by mistake.
okay. So considering if we create an object,
Hmm.
um, value will only be changed only if we call that function, right? That's what I was confused with. In
Right.
this case,
Only if
now
you
we
call
are
that
not
function.
called.
Right. If you
Yeah,
don't
now we
call,
have
then
not
no.
called it, so value retains because
Right.
when you said assume it to be an object, then I thought or everything executes as one, which was not the case. Now it is clear.
Okay, great. So it's good. So this is basically called as a method with a side effect because in this method, I tried to use this method, right? Method is nothing but a function defined in a class. So when I use this method, it actually overwritten the value of this road text 10. So it overwritten a road text value as 10, right? So that's called as a method with a side effect. Is it clear? Method with side effect. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in method with
No
No.
worries.
side effects? Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Then uh, let's see another way of writing the main class. So let's say I want to write another new program. How do I do? Scala, then what? Right click, then
New
new, then
Scala class,
Scala class, then
object,
object.
and
Okay.
name.
Then I say that hello world uh, variance. Okay. Maybe I will say main method. Okay. How to sometimes what happens is sometimes when you're working, okay, you get a different programmers write in a different way. So if you see over here hello world, how did we start the program? By a main, right? Can you see this main function?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Scala, there is another way of doing it, and that's called as instead of defining a main function, you just write extends app. Okay. So what we are doing is instead of writing a main function, what we are saying that extends app. So what we are doing is we are extending another class which is a app which has a main function already defined. How it works, don't worry much about it. Just know that this is also another way of writing or starting the program. So don't be confused if you come across uh, a function program that doesn't have a main method. So what I'm doing is instead of writing a main method over here, I did not write a main method, and I just did was extends app and I write hello world, and I just right click and run hello world main method. So basically it's a different way of writing the program. So it also prints. Okay. So you can do this way, or you can also do either you can do a extend apps. Okay. So or else what is the other way? You already know. What is the other way? You know, main function, right?
Defining main function.
Main function, right? So what is a one way? Okay, main. Okay, this is with the main function, right? So main function also one. Right click, run hello world main method. So this is the one way, and the other way is without main function. Okay, so I will just keep this one also with the main method and main function or main method, whatever. And I will also create one more for you. Okay, I will say hello world without hello world without main. Okay, so I mean hello world without main. So how do you do this? It's just simple extends app. Okay, and just write println and hello world without main. Okay, I just write hello world without main. So it's a two ways, different ways. Sometime so that you are comfortable with both way. Sometime we will do this way. Sometime we'll do with a main method. Sometime we'll do with extends main, extends app. Okay, so it says that hello world without main. Okay, so it's hello world without main. So there is another way of doing extends app. So how it does is inside the app, the same code is already written. So app takes care of all those things. There's also another way of doing the things. Uh, so that's it. I think so. We are over the time. I wanted to cover few more things, but it's fine. So what we had done now is written few codes. Make sure you practice it. Open this Learn Scala A into your IDE and see how to do. So let me just quickly show. I will just copy this entire folder into a Google Drive. You just download this entire folder from a Google Drive and you can start practicing. Like you go to IntelliJ and I will just close this project so that I show you how to open it. So you can open any project and you can say that I want to open something. I want to open and I want to open something. Then where is the path? Then I go that learning Scala A and you just click on OK and you just say that new window or something. So it will take a couple of minutes to open, or it already opened. It already opened. For me it opened very quickly and you can just start using this. Okay, so for now, instead of going with git, because my git is already uninstalled,